So you ever wake up and feel like you hate your alarm clock and want to destroy it? Me neither, but I made a VR game about it anyways. And to make it a bit more interesting, I challenged myself to complete it in one single weekend. More on that later. Okay, but it's hard to make a regular game in a weekend, let alone a VR game. So the solution? Do as little as possible, obviously. So I'm using Unity and bought a VR framework that does 90% of the work for me. Basically, they provide me the parts and I just assemble the car. Cool, let's start. So my plan was to make a room and figure out the rest from there, but the problem is I can't model. So yoink! Thank you, Kenny. This page is the lord and savior of many game developers, by the way. I love the low poly style, they look awesome, and all of them are completely free. Basic environment done, I assembled a plan covering all 3 days. I started right after work on Friday, so that gave me a bit more time. Of course, in the end, I only did a fraction of what I planned, but I also added some things that I never even brought up. Then I made some modifications to the room and added a couple of hidden things that are just fun, like the banjo. I also made another room that you have to discover by shooting the door, and it has the most difficult alarm in it. I planned a sniper rifle to make it a bit easier to shoot, but I never got the time to actually do it. So you just have to be really precise. Okay, at this point I had the environment to an acceptable level. Next on the docket is an alarm clock model. And even with my non-existent modeling skills, I wanted to do this myself, because it's such a central piece of the game. So I use ProBuilder, which is an object editor in Unity itself, and quite easy to learn. While doing the model, I decided to make the bells and body metallic, so you can see the room in the reflection. Nice! And I wasted like 2 hours figuring out how to actually do this. In the end, I just stuck with a very basic version and only one reflection probe. After that, coding. I needed the clock to ring when the game logic told it to and explode when you shut it. And this is how I did it. Great, now with that out of the way, it was time to correct the first of many annoying things. Thankfully, some friends from Germany tested the game and pointed out 5 more at the end. But the first was you never knew what you were trying to grab in the distance. So I downloaded a free highlight script, made some adjustments to the VR framework I'm using, and voila, like magic, only 478 things left to correct. But first, weapons! The VR framework had 3 guns to start with, so I copy-pasted them in quickly. Then I used another 3 assets to make some hammers, configured them and hid them across the room, and wham bam, we have some variety now. At this time, it was already late Sunday, and I really wanted to finish this whole thing, so I quickly threw my alarm model everywhere in the room and made 3 more clocks, one of them a radio. This should add even more variety. At this point, the game was amazing to play. You could smash things, the lights go out, and hammers and guns to shoot with. I mean, what more can you ask for? But I was far away from being able to call it an actual game. Yet the weekend passed, and so did the chance to complete my own challenge. By the way, if you like this content, feel free to subscribe. So let's recap. I had a complete room, alarms that worked fine, and 6 weapons. But no gameplay mechanism, no menu, no logo, no anything to help the player whatsoever. At this point I made up my mind to still complete the game regardless. And now that I don't need to hurry, I can make it properly. So I made a quick 3D menu and started working on the logo. I wanted to add a military feeling to it, so I chose this font and some explosion-colored background to them. I also changed the O to a clock, and it looked surprisingly cool. The stroke also gives it a bit of fun vibes too, since, let's be honest, This won't be a serious game. When you hit play, it starts with you closing your eyes, and then you wake up to a random alarm ringing in the room, and then 2, and then 3, and so on. Your job is to find and shoot or destroy by any means all of them, and then you can go back to sleep. When all alarms are destroyed, you win! I won't spoil the ending for you though, go play the game. Okay, so after the menu and the gameplay mechanisms was done, I was free to do whatever. So I added a ton of extras just for fun, converted the TV to an alarm clock, banjo collision sounds, a hat, the ability to reset the room, and your weapons will be saved on the wall after you first touch them. So at this point you could shoot 2 assault rifles at the same time if you wanted to. After the second weekend, some friends from Germany came and I got them to be my guinea pig for the game. They said the alarms were too hard to break when you throw them, and they couldn't tell what to do when they started. So I made the velocity needed to trigger the breaking lower and added an extra panel with instructions to the menu. Also, the first thing they wanted to do was to play the banjo, and I saw this behavior from my girlfriend as well, so I just had to make it possible. Here you go. This was the point I declared the game to be finished. Woohoo! So I made the build and uploaded it to itch.io. Link in the description, go and have some fun. Now let's talk about what I learned. I need to seriously plan my things to do better. The more details, the better. I found myself changing a lot of things and this resulted in wasting just too much time. I completely forgot to include the sound design and the menu in the initial list of mine. And these things are not simple and should have a good sized time slot. Also remember to add some instructions to the player. It's one thing that you know what to do in your game, but someone who just opened it won't have a single clue. The best solution is of course to make it very intuitive, but sometimes it's just not possible. Okay, that's it for today. If you want me to do more of these, subscribe and like the video and join my humble Discord server. If I post something, it will be there. This also includes free samples of my games and the opportunity to be a tester yourself. Thanks for watching till the very end and see you next time.